Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And welcome to the Kickback Cafe, the show where we kick back, relax, and talk about anything but Disney. And welcome to a very special Veterans Day installment of Hey Arnold Month. Oh boy, Dragon. So it is Veterans Day once again. Of course, we like to kind of take the time to do some patriotism on the channel every Veterans Day. Last year, we did a big ol' tribute, a salute to Captain America and all things with that character. Dragon, I still want to do my damn Donald Duck podcast. I'm still hung up on that, by the way.
But of course, we didn't do that this year for a very important reason.
Yes. You want to tell them the reason?
By all means, go ahead.
Okay, so obviously, since we're doing Hey Arnold Month, it is building up to the release of the Jungle movie, which is, of course, the long in the waiting, like, legendary, like, this is like the Bigfoot of animated movies, Dragon. It's like, people back in the day are like, oh, I saw an animatic of it. Oh, yeah. I saw a scene. It was, like, roughly animated.
Yeah, we've been waiting roughly 16, well, I mean, depending when they're working on it. I don't know where you want to cut off at. Let's just say between 16 and 17 years for this.
So, yeah, big event. And, folks, of course, I honestly, I think this episode is something special, folks. Veterans Day is, of course, a holiday episode of Hey Arnold, but is a very unconventional and very underrated holiday episode for, I would say, a very underrated holiday in general. And I love how, of course, we'll get into it, as we break it down beat by beat. But I love how this episode kind of, it's a great examination of the actual holiday and kind of how kids today, they literally just view it as a 3-day weekend. You know what I mean? And I love how we get all that explored. And also, Dragon, just to give a quick shout out, I very much doubt he is watching, but we got to give a salute to probably the veteran that we know, Dragon, Mr. Kyle Decker.
Yes.
So thank you for your service, Kyle, if you're watching, which, like I said, I doubt you are, but if you are, thank you for your service.
Oh, here's a fun fact. I'm going to kind of spring this on you now here. Apparently, I could be wrong here. I want to hope I'm right. If you salute someone, if you're going to play a little PSA here, a little Captain America PSA, I guess. When you salute veterans, make sure you use your right hand. Salute with the right, not the left. Seriously, if you salute with the left hand, it's like it's disrespectful. You always salute with the right hand. I just found that out.
I could see that.
I mean, assuming that's true, I mean, that's a cool little factoid. So impress your friends.
Stay in school.
Yes, and also, because you kindly gave a shout out to Kyle Decker, let me give a shout out to someone who worked on Hey Arnold, this because, this, of course, Veterans Day is all about remembering kind of fallen heroes, kind of remembering not just fallen heroes, remembering the fallen heroes as well as the brave survivors, again, the people who fought for a country, kind of the brave souls of all walks of life. We should give a shout out to the writer of this episode, who wrote a lot of episodes of Hey Arnold, but Steve Viskin, who unfortunately passed away in 2014. Of course, the voice of Oscar Kakashka and Mr. Wynn, if I'm remembering it correctly. Yes, one of the top writers at Hey Arnold. He did this one. This is all Steve Viskin in terms of the writing, and I think, of course, he did a really great job with this episode. It's really well written. Makes you kind of wonder if he had any military experience within his family. Like we see with these two families, I thought was that good.
Yeah, my cousin's actually in the military, Dragon, so, it's...
Honestly, I kind of had not to the same extent by any stretch, but I mean, I had kind of it's not with this episode, with Gerald's side of the story. I had, my father, he was in the army. It wasn't in any of the wars, but he was in the army.
My grandpa was kind of the same way. He was in the army. He didn't really see any action or anything, but... Actually, my grandpa and my cousin are my cousins at the same training base in Texas that my grandpa was at, if you can believe it. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, so the point is, we got a vague connection to kind of what Gerald's story is here, and also kind of a vague kind of connection to kind of that little moment of disillusionment when you hear, the family has a military connection. Don't get me wrong, it's still valid, and that's kind of the arc Gerald goes through in this episode. Where it's just basically kind of Gerald's arc just for like a mere moment where I kind of like a little disillusioned, but it's still cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was that's always kind of a connection I've had to this episode as well. Just I really love the Gerald side of this story. But again, it's a great episode all around. Anyway, let's not hype it up any further. Just dive right into it.
All right, so we start with after a nice patriotic opening in front of the American flag, Sam Raimi, Spider-Man era would be proud. We start with Arnold and Gerald kind of wondering what to do for Veterans Day weekend. Let's see, like Gerald's suggesting bowling, and much to Gerald's shock, Arnold is suggesting golf.
We're going to have kind of a fun kid line here where, Gerald's saying, do we look like old men, or like golf is for people, for old men, or old men who turn 30?
Dragon, I gotta say, I turned 30 in 2020, and that line kind of hit me. That line hit me. I was like, oh God, Jesus Christ, I'm old.
Yeah, no, T, that's from a kid's perspective. 30
I know, but still.
Come on.
I'm an old man to an elementary school kid. Oh God.
All right, but yeah, seriously, the 3 day, like right from the get go, we kind of established kind of the issue here. Arnold and Gerald, of course, not in the wrong here, but again, they kind of view a holiday as many people view a holiday. You don't fully kind of appreciate kind of Veterans Day. It's just very simply, okay, it's 3 days off. It's just still fun, but again, you gotta at least understand what Veterans Day is about. Like how we start that off right at the beginning. It's very universal. It's a very universal event, I feel.
Sure.
All right.
So then we get the boarding house, and Phil is trying to tell the story about how he single-handedly won the most important battle of World War II.
Yep, and the boarders, you know what? I doubt they've heard the story before. Maybe they have, but the point is they don't have no tolerance for this. Again, kind of the disrespect around Veterans Day is just like they want to get out of there and like, hey, come on, get back here. And also, someone took his dessert, and guess who it is?
It's Oscar. It's
Oscar. Stole his pudding. Is Oscar stole?
So that's like a nice way to like work in some comedy, but also have the serious message of like disrespecting veterans.
Yeah, we do. Again, that's kind of a good balance we have here. We have kind of a very serious kind of human story with with Martin Johansson, of course, with Phil. With Phil, you have a lot of comedy interspersed in there.
But I still think the Phil story is a good payoff, though. Of course, as well.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to detract. I'm just saying, again, it's funny as well as kind of a cool story. So let's see. Again, I do like the connection here too. Just give the episode kind of props doing kind of subtle things. Again, looking back on Harold after all these years, I like all the little things that kind of coalesce that kind of get our story moving. So of course, no dessert with no pudding. So he's hanging out with Arnold. He also figures, I'm going to replace that pudding with ice cream. So they go Slausson's Ice Cream, which I like. That's an established location, by the way. That's where Monkey Man and Arnold got the ice cream, got the banana split. Let's see. So Arnold and Phil, of course, being a small neighborhood, all this makes all sense. The rules. Arnold and Phil, they're getting ice cream. And they kind of bump into Gerald and his father.
Yep.
I've always liked Martin Johansson, by the way. This is the episode I really like.
This is definitely his showcase episode of the whole series, I think. But
exactly, Martin before he's been in the show, and he's kind of been like the running gag with Martin Johansson was that he's the I got all these bills to pay, I got all these kids, I got all these bills to pay. Gerald, you got to learn the value of a dollar. It's usually been Martin's kind of
right.
His wheelhouse. And that's not bad. Again, you have to see Martin definitely. He looked out for Gerald here and there, but he wasn't as developed as a character like Phil. Of course, Phil was so much fun. So you can't expect every adult character to kind of be a Phil, but I like this episode. Really does give Martin his chance, kind of his moment in the sun.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, very much so.
So let's see. So Arnold and Gerald, they kind of. I love this. I love the pairings of our characters here. I love that Phil and Martin are kind of having a conversation here. Meanwhile, Arnold and Gerald are kind of off to the side playing killer clowns
from outer space.
Yes. So Martin looks forward to spending time with Gerald, and of course, I'm sorry, you take us through this.
Basically, I don't exactly. Of course, he's excited to to tell him the Vietnam stories and everything. Yeah, well,
Martin's looking for. He doesn't spend a lot of time because he's working all the time. Of course, a 3-day weekend kind of frees him up for that. Because remember, he didn't necessarily have the idea to tell the Vietnam story at this point, though.
No, I'm sorry. You're right. But then, of course, they get the I forget exactly how the idea of going to the Capitol gets brought up.
Well, here's how it gets brought up. So Phil is venting while he's like looking at while he's getting his ice cream. Basically, they're kind of striking the conversation. He's venting, oh, it's only the two of them just in conversations. Like, okay, it's like it's all this to these kids is a 3-day weekend. Like, no one values Veterans Day anymore. Gerald, yeah, the idea is, again, Martin took Gerald to the aquarium. Just kind of filling the time, and Gerald's like, yeah, aquarium's nice, but we have figured it's kind of something fun to do for the 3-day weekend. And again, no one respects Veterans Day anymore. It's kind of what the adults are getting at, and of course they're kind of reflecting, oh yeah, we were in World War II, and then he brings up that he had days, he was in the Vietnam War. That's kind of where he introduced that idea.
Uh-huh.
And basically, Martin brings up oh yeah, I heard about there's the celebration down at the Capitol, and then basically it kind of gives Phil the idea there of like, it gives them both the idea. Basically, him bringing up that, oh yeah, he knows about the celebration that happens down at the Capitol, and they kind of realize, hey, let's capitalize on that. And basically, they have a moment, and I love this how it mirrors Arnold and Gerald here, where Martin he coins Gerald's line, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" So that's a cute gag on watching this much later. I mean, I've probably seen it on reruns, but I can't remember when I last saw it. But it's like that's a cute gag.
I actually remember this was like one of the last Hey Arnold episodes I ever saw in terms of like one of the I remember this playing on TV probably around Veterans Day, maybe like a couple years after Hey Arnold ended, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I just never caught this in the original run. So I was like, hey, it was kind of like a nice surprise. It was like, hey, a new Hey Arnold episode. Anyways.
So, they tell the boys about, hey, we're going to the Capitol. Gerald looks forward to hearing his dad's war stories.
I'm sorry. That's where I got confused. Gerald's looking forward to the Vietnam stories. Yeah.
Yeah, and I get a sense, I like the inferred character we get here, too. The idea that, Gerald really hasn't heard these stories before, otherwise he wouldn't be so eager to hear them. And the idea Martin probably wants to, he's not bragging about what happened in Vietnam. We're going to find out why. He's just, he's not exactly, not really gung-ho about sharing the war stories, where Phil probably he's looking for an opportunity.
Of course, and I love the difference between Arnold and Gerald, where Gerald's like really stoked to hear about the war, whereas Arnold's like, oh God, if I hear about the war one more time.
Well, it's not just that. It's like Tiki.
Well, you're right. It's also just the fact that Phil is just kind of a bold-faced liar about a lot of his stories.
But Tiki, I love how we kind of cross our character arcs here, where Arnold's more in line with Martin, and Gerald is more in line with Phil in this episode. That's kind of where the cross is going there. But as well, we've established with Phil before, especially in episodes like Parents' Day, which one of these days might be talking about. You never know. With Phil, of course, notoriously he's always embellishes and he creates these stories, and he did for a very important reason for Arnold. But again, something we might talk about one day. but Phil, he exaggerates, and Arnold's not looking forward to that. So Arnold probably hasn't heard this story, otherwise he's probably heard other war stories that were embellished equally. It's like how he did in all these different ways.
Well, I mean, as we see in this episode, Phil kind of has, Phil just loves to insert Adolf Hitler directly into the story.
Yep. So basically, it's the next day. Phil is eager to tell the story how he single-handedly.
I single-handedly won World War II, short man.
Yep. And he says, "Oh yeah, I can't wait to be driving 90 miles an hour." His grandpa's just speed limit. I know. Basically, that's not going to deter me. Yeah, 90 miles an hour. And of course, I love this image for the episode. By the way, I love the Packard with the American flag draped behind it. It's like a cape of patriotism for the car. It's great. America's pride, the Packard. Anyway, let's see. So
Arnold brings up, Grandpa, can you for once not make up the stories and just tell what actually happened?
Yeah, because he's mentioned I remember I wrestled Adolf Hitler to the ground and kicked his patoot.
Uh-huh.
And of course, that's when Arnold's kind of asking him for the truth there. Oh yeah, it's. And of course, I love that we keep Phil fun throughout this episode, and as we always do. And Phil is he's okay. You want to drive, Arnold? I can't drive. Okay, you're sure?
All right, if I get tired, I'll pull over and you can take over.
That's great. Dan Castellaneta was such a gem for this show.
You know, I never even realized it was Dan Castellaneta until like my adulthood, Dragon. That's how.
Honestly, this is probably my favorite Dan Castellaneta role, if I'm being honest.
I
Easily.
would say so. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, you know, Homer's great, but Homer's kind of run to the ground at this point.
We have a fun guest star in the Phil story this episode. We'll get there. We have a fun voice acting guest star that fits so well with Dan Castellaneta in this episode. We'll get there when we get.
Wait, is it the German
Yes,
like the German captain guy?
the major.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh, I don't
not
know who it is, so I'm excited now. Okay.
Okay, we'll get there. Anyway. Okay, so basically, we get our story in motion here. Martin hypes up hypes up all the sights and stuff they're gonna do when they get there, like all the monuments, the Veterans
parade
Day
and the
parade.
fireworks.
Yeah, but it's 18 hours away. It's gonna be a long drive.
And as Phil's pulling out, he sets off the alarm on the car. Didn't see nothing.
Well, no, not that. He backs into a cop car, Tiki.
Oh God, right.
I love that.
I
This
love
is
how
fun.
Mrs. Johansson is just like on the front porch, and she's just kind of like, "Oh God."
I love it. I love that she's stuck with it. She has to deal with
Right, right, exactly.
Basically, it's like Philly just backs into the car. We're like, oh boy, this trip is just getting off to such a wonderful start, isn't it? Just backs into the car. No one saw nothing. He drives off like 90 miles an hour, I guess. It's great. I was like, Dickie, did you get a Goofy movie vibe at all throughout this episode?
Oh God, yes.
Because I mean, especially it feels like. I mean, especially later scene, of course, we have the what was the? I'm trying to think what it was the mermaid themed, the nautical motel we had in the Goofy movie.
Oh
Feels
God,
very much
Dragon,
like
I'm still obsessed with that fucking waterbed in that hotel.
that waterbed's cool. I mean, again, also there's that. I would say if you bring up the waterbed, I started
The
to say like
waterbed, the pizza, the hot tub, all that.
I know the hot tub scene. Oh my God, the hot tub scene is such good acting. Oh my God, it's like the best scene.
All right.
Let's Jim Cummings.
We're getting seriously off track here.
Seriously, it's such a good scene. On point. Back on point. All right, take us. Okay, start us off.
Okay, let's see. So this is where Martin's starting to tell his story, and he's kind of emphasizing, like he's kind of trying to make a point, like everyone who
Gerald's growing with questions. Like Gerald's asking, like, "Oh, Dad, you were in Vietnam. Did you see any action? Did you have a gun?" And I love how this is written. Again, I love Martin's responses in this scene. I love how he's very humble about it. He's
it's like, well, yes, I was issued a gun, but but the army isn't about shooting people; it's about service to your country.
Exactly. It's not about the action of it all. Again, I love that he's trying to impart a message to Joe. He's being very fatherly in this episode. I mean, of course, it's no surprise because he's his father. But I mean, I love that we're just kind of it's like a PSA without feeling like a PSA. But at the same time, I'm sure Captain America loved Martin Johansson in this episode, though. No, seriously. I mean, I actually think it's patriotic in the best way, and I really think the fictional character of Captain America would approve of that.
God. Yes, I agree. I'll sign off on that. Does this get a big old thumbs up from Cap?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm saying it's Veterans Day, folks. We gotta get Cap in there a little.
Or even better, does it get a Thor thumbs up? I mean, Thor. He
I think Thor would like
in the traditional sense of the war, in the word of the word. I'm sorry, but he has fought in many Asgardian wars. I'm sure.
Honestly, I think Thor would love Phil's story.
Yes, I agree. So let's get into that. So Phil is, of course, Phil's really anxious to get into his story. Like, my story did happen before yours.
He plays the old man card, and it's hilarious. Like, I'm
an old man, and who knows how much time I have left.
I just love he's just playing.
I love Martin's line where it's like, Phil, I'm sure you have a lot of time left.
Yeah, that was nice. Again, Martin is so nice in this episode.
I know.
We rarely spend any time with Martin aside from it's costing all these money. Because I'm thinking of that Gerald moves in episode. That's what I keep thinking of. That's the main.
That's like the other big Martin episode. Yeah,
Martin has 2 episodes really. When you think, aside from just like him, just basically being in the background, like when their episode where all the fathers take the boys on a trip. Aside from that, you have 2 Martin episodes. You have Gerald moves in. You have Gerald the salesman. Where he's selling the watches.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, so but yeah, I mean, he's so he's so nice. Again, he's more than willing to let Phil tell the story. He's Phil has to overplays his hand. They're like, oh, all these reasons. Oh, sorry. Okay, anyway, let's see. So it's 1945.
Oh God, might I say this whole story is just comedic masterclass, just all the way through.
And again, with Grandpa Phil, of course, we have the ultimate. Like this guy is like on the Mount Rushmore of unreliable narrators.
Yeah, right. He's right up there with Elliot Alderson.
Oh yeah, it's 1945. He's in Northern Europe.
I love how who's the actress he's daydreaming about?
Tiki, come on, this is a running gag in here. Really, you don't remember?
No, I'm sorry.
Hedy Lamarr.
Right.
What in the name of Hedy Lamarr?
Oh God.
Anyway, so we have a flashback to young GI Phil with hair.
I love the way that Dan Castellaneta plays young Phil.
Yeah, I like that you can tell there's a discernible difference. And yeah, you know what's amazing? He's had to play various members of Phil's family. Because remember, he's always played every iteration, by the way. So he's played Phil. He's played basically everyone with the little kid version of Phil, which I want to say might have been Arnold's voice actor or someone else. But you know what I mean. You have Phil. He plays Phil. He plays young Phil in this episode. He's played Phil's father, and he's played Phil's grandfather. He's played 4 different iterations of Phil. Kind of funny.
Oh man.
Anyway, so of course he's also the Jolly Ollie man. Let's not forget that.
Of course.
Okay, so tell the folks at home what is young GI Phil's what is Private Phil's job as a private in the military?
Well, he is the assistant cook in the First Army, and as of now, he is peeling potatoes.
I know what it is about Nickelodeon, but I tell you, they have this thing where they want to make the people in the military experience all cooks, because you have Mr. Krabs too.
You're right.
They're always a cook. They're always somehow a cook. They're affiliated with the kitchen staff somehow.
Oh God.
Like, Mr. Krabs was a Navy man, but he cooked on the
right.
Well, I mean, technically cleaned the bathrooms, but he kind of dabbled in the. Oh God, and we know he's a war veteran. I don't know. Let's not go down. Let's not deep dive down that one. Yeah. So of course he's an assistant cook, and he's kind of wake up, private. Says, oh yeah, I was just dreaming about kicking Hitler's butt, sir. Uber patriotic, really nice. So all day, he's peeling potatoes, he's washing pots, he's waiting for his big moment to be a war hero, his big opportunity. I love this, and I love that we have an origin here, and this is great. At Phil, even back in the 40s, he was constantly in the bathroom.
Yes.
Phil's in the bathroom. Of course, he's called for a meeting with the colonel. He fell on the way there, so he's a little out of it. So basically, and again, adding more to the unreliable narrator of it all, because again, he had possibly a head injury while he was doing all this.
I understood about half the instructions the colonel gave me.
The colonel's giving him his big mission. Essentially, what Phil deciphered. Oh God! And folks, as much as I would love to have written down every part of Dan Castellaneta's speech,
Dan Castellaneta basically goes on like a rant about the difference between cham and spam.
I would love to get in. I would love to have it verbatim, but neither of us would be able to do it any justice. I mean,
no.
And Christopher Lloyd might have a shot at it.
Oh God.
Point is, he delivers. Phil's mission was to deliver bad cham. Now, again, it's cham, not spam.
No. Spam is basically Phil is saying that spam is a beloved household product that's loved by everyone, and cham is just this terrible thing that you get in the military, but it's literally the same thing.
So here's the thing. It's actually funny. This is a real thing. It wasn't made up for this. I'm kidding you. Cham is a real thing.
It sounds legit.
And again, that's what's so funny about it. It's the dialogue right here. Basically, an advertisement for spam. Yeah, and for cham, it's a very factual. It's like legalese. It's like he has to read the legal agreement and say, "No, we're talking about cham, not spam," because cham. Here's what cham was. It was basically a way of it was a cheaper version of spam. Very very obviously. Basically, it was the leaving. It was the leftover chicken and ham mixture. Basically, it was a chicken and ham byproducts. Like a really leaky, icky can, and it was like just the leavings of Spam.
I can't even stomach regular Spam.
Again, it was chicken mixed in with Spam, and it was an experimental thing to cut costs, and it was oh God, it was disaster.
I'm literally getting kind of nauseous just thinking about it. Anyways.
Okay, so the point is, Phil's job is to deliver it and dump it. Essentially, he's got to deliver it to a dumping ground in northern France.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So and I love this.
Also, I love how Phil's driving recklessly and Martin's just freaking out. He's using his inhaler.
Oh yeah. And by the way, this is the storytelling that kind of really struck me when I was watching Harold back. Not just direct from this episode. I'm saying they've done this all the time, especially with Phil when he tells the stories. It's kind of influenced me on I write sometimes, if I'm being honest. The whole amping up kind of the most mundane of tasks, the way Phil does here. I would imagine that. I think I took some cues from that when I was way back watching Harold when I worked on the writings, kind of making all the mundane things like a grand adventure. So Phil he amps up the importance, driving in the snow. I love we visually can see again the unreliable narrator thing kicks in. You're like it's snowing, it's barely coming down, but it's snowing. He drove in a blizzard, and he had to make camp. He making camp right outside the car, and it was really far away. Apparently, it was 200. We revealed he was actually 200 yards away, which is really close. He's like a leisurely walk away.
Right.
And basically, we have the offer of the fun guy where guys offering poker to him, like, "Hey, we're playing poker, Phil. You want it?" "No, I'm on a secret mission." And apparently, everybody knows about. Wait, how did you know? "Oh yeah, you're delivering that jam. How do you know about? We all know about. Well, don't tell anyone else. Then he says, "I feared the enemy might know what I'm up to."
Yep.
And my weenie caught on fire. I love it close.
There's so much good timing in this story.
I love that it's a vague, dirty joke too. By the way, it's an old. No, seriously, it's an old VD joke.
Not the first dirty joke we're gonna get in this story.
Oh, that's true. And fun fact again of another famous war veterans. They cram a few in there, of course, to kind of tie the Captain America thing. And there's Stan Lee, of course, involved in World War II. Not only was he involved in World War II, but he did a VD, not me PSA. I just want to put that out there. So yeah.
Right.
Relative. It's all relative. Okay, so then Phil's putting the pedal to the metal. He's speeding. He's splashing mud on nuns. As he's crossing the countryside. Then basically, eventually, he was hired. He was tired, hungry, and lonely.
Oh God!
Take us through this, Steve. Why don't you? Take us through.
So he stops at a French farm to rest, but no one's there except the daughters because all the men are at war. And so, oh God!
And they're not playing baseball.
So silly, Dragon. It's so silly.
It is. It's the old farm. Basically, it's the farmer's daughter thing, but we took the farmer out of the equation.
Right. So basically, just as he's about to nod off, the oldest daughter, Monique, comes in, and then of course, I just love the way this.
So of course,
Bill, maybe you should skip to the next part.
Also, I think it's so ridiculous that Dan Castellaneta as Phil's dubbing over the beautiful girl. And I love this too. I love how detailed he is in painting the picture. He says, and her diaphanous, basically her nightgown, her diaphanous nightgown. I love he said diaphanous. It's something they worked in there. But yeah, so as he's getting into basically, it's the old story. Folks, you know the old story. He's in the barn. You got the beautiful daughters in the house. There's not enough room on the inn, essentially. And then the beautiful girl walks in there, and she's seeking to comfort Phil. And before the story goes any further, that's when Martin steps in.
I'll tell you the other part of the story later. Which, of course, just seals the dirty joke of it all. In case kids weren't aware it was supposed to be a dirty joke.
That's perfect. Okay.
All right,
let's see. We have the map gag, a little nod to Indiana Jones.
Yes, we do.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, another film famously featuring Nazis.
Of course. All right, so let's see. So back on the road.
Yes.
Let's see. He hits a flat tire.
Yes.
And then I saw Hitler standing over me with fire in his eyes.
Oh God!
Oh God, it's so like I love Dragon of all the tiny details in this episode. It just cracks me up that Phil pokes Hitler in the eyes.
Oh
like,
yeah,
that's
so here's
his
what he
first
does.
move.
He does a Three Stooges. He does a Three Stooges
Right.
poke in the eyes. Then he gives him a noogie, and then gives him a wedgie.
Oh,
and then we have
man.
kind of this bombastic ends of the war. It's like, it's fireworks, it's USO girls,
fireworks, like 3 cheers for the red, white, and blue.
I kid you, it looks basically add a wedgie in there, and it's instead of a bike, and it's the end of the whole Star Spangled Man sequence from First Avenger. It's really what it is.
Right. Oh man, it's great.
It's that patriotic, but just add a wedgie in there. That's it. But also, I don't know. Well, first we should just definitely address this. Again, it's bold to have Hitler in an animated cartoon.
Yeah.
Post the propaganda era.
Sure.
And also, I love this detail. I don't know. I liked it. I don't know how everyone feels about it. It's the fact that we shied away from the swastikas. One, because I highly doubt they're going to be able to get away with that. Because the swastikas actually, it's only a little factoid that because they weren't, like, the Germans basically took an existing symbol with that and they kind of made it into something.
Yes, they did. It was actually a Tibetan symbol.
Yeah. It was, Also, I think it might have it's used in additional places too. But yeah, you're right. And based on that, it's it's insensitive. People viewed it insensitive, not just for like the horrific connotations, but also just kind of maybe they took an existing symbol, we made it all evil, and that we don't want to be reminded of that.
Sure.
Understandable. So I love the fill-in for the swastika. I love we still like an armband. I love that we homage the swastika. We address that everyone's gonna be looking for the swastika. We can't get away with that on network TV. We're gonna give you something better though. It's a frowny face, and basically the motif is it's frowny faces all over where the swastika should be. He's like, we see a I love it such like we're so close, yet at the same time we're still having fun with it. We have Hitler. We got away with literally Hitler by name. He looks like him. He's the Hey Arnold version of Hitler, but he's got a frowning right. sticker, and he's getting beat up by a beloved character from the show. It's great. It's great. I love they didn't shy away from including Hitler at all. There's kind of it's the old Mel Brooks logic where Mel Brooks famously is like it made his life's mission to make people laugh at Hitler. Right. Okay, so let's see. So post. So obviously, he didn't actually go up against Hitler. He didn't knock out Hitler, 200 times. That's another guy with wings on his head. Arnold steps in and he calls Phil out in that aspect of the story anyway to get back on point. But it was Nazis. Mm-hmm. So of course he's asking, what next? What next? Oh God, he's cornered. He's surrounded by Nazis. What's a Phil to do? But he says, I'll tell you all the gory. Gerald's on the edge of his seat. What's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? I'll tell you right after we get some gas. But Phil, we have half a tank. Oh no, I got a different kind of gas, bro. And believe me, if we want to get there. Basically, it's a rest stop gag. Mm-hmm. Also, it's at a diner. I have a nice diner set piece.
Yes. Which again is kind of Goofy movie-esque.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, you're absolutely right. It's very good. I gotta tell you, I think it's a nice location. It's a nicely designed.
It is. You're right.
It's like it's an upscale. It's kind of an upscale fuel.
Yeah, it's like a step up from Denny's.
Yeah. The wood panel. It's nice. Anyway, so back to the story. Thanks so much.
Okay, so let's see. He was captured behind enemy lines, and they were mean, but most of all, they were hungry. And so basically all the Nazis get excited about the bad jam. Oh, God. Oh, this is great. And Phil, Phil's genuinely trying to warn him, like, hey, wait, the meat's bad. You don't want to eat it.
And of course, enter the Nazi major, who Phil we have this run where he keeps thinking he's a captain. He says, "Oh, you could boss captain's rank." Because basically, it's I like that. While we do have guns in this episode, I like that we have this, the other imagery here. So it's still intimidating, but it's a little minor. Where he has like a little pointing stick under Phil's chin,
kind of like the bayonet.
Yeah. It's kind of
Right, right.
it's kind of like that, where he has like that little, like little like leather, like the leather strap at the end of it, a little pointy stick.
Hmm.
And it's kind of using that almost like if you were putting like a gun under his chin or something. Yeah, like it's like a little pointer to accentuate
Can I
like
just say that this Major is just straight out of Indiana Jones?
Yes, he feels very very Toe esque, very
Uh,
Nazi intimidator from Raiders esque. The interrogator from Raiders. And
I mean,
speaking of
just in
that,
the way that he speaks, it's like I could totally see Indy having a confrontation like this. Like, you're trying to outsmart me, Dr. Jones, you know.
very funny. And of course, here's a fun note. The voice actor is Joe Alaskey. Now, Tiki, do you remember Joe Alaskey?
Name doesn't ring a bell, no.
He's done a lot of great voice work. He's done a lot of Looney Tunes, all the major ones. At some point, of course, he's done Bugs, Daffy, Sylvester. He was one of the he was one of the go-tos. I know he had Bob Bergen as another go-to, so I want to say he was like for the longest time he was one of the go-tos for Looney Tunes. He voiced Plucky Duck on Tiny Toons,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
most impressively, and this is the reason I really bring it up, he was another famous grandfather. It's Lou. It's Grandpa Lou.
Oh, God. Okay.
Lou versus Phil.
Oh, man.
One of
I
them's a
would have never
Nazi.
guessed it was Grandpa Lou from that.
Joe Alaskey. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, boy.
I just want to point that out. Kind of a fun fact. Here's the range on that guy. Like, and not only is it all those different Looney Tunes, but of course, Lou.
Yeah, exactly. All
Again,
right.
another, just for, in honor of remembrance, of course, Joe Alaskey we lost relatively recently, so another loss
Oh,
there. Okay. Back on point. So again, the major. So basically, we have this great. We have this
explain
fantastic.
the back and forth dragon. You could probably explain it better than I could.
Just the height. You got to boil it down here to avoid the hyperboil of it all. Is that we these playing mind games. The major is they kind of get into a
Well, the
game.
Major is playing mind games. Phil is just being Phil.
The major is playing mind games where he's basically Phil said, no, it's bad meat. And of course, he's questioning, wait, bad meat, it's bad meat. He thinks, you don't want us to have meat unless.
Like, the Major is just basically looking like way too much into it.
He's
Like,
giving
he's
Phil
putting like
way
layer upon layer upon layer of motivation behind it.
he's giving Phil way too much credit, and it's hilarious. It keeps going back and forth. He basically keeps going full circle. I love the logic, and I love that it does technically track. Again, I'm not going to go through like every iteration because it'll just be the same thing over and over again. But just trust me, it does track his logic.
Like, it's kind of like the spam cham thing where we couldn't really deliver it even if we had it written
Exactly.
down word by word.
Just take a word for folks. It's a thing of beauty. It really is. Just what's the logic? You're always just going unless you want. You saying it's bad really means it's good. Unless you want us to think that, and you want us to get poisoned. But then again, it gets go back and forth. It's hilarious.
And then, of course, I love how Phil eventually catches on to what's happening and kind of plays into it. Like, oh, you Nazis are so much smarter than us. We can't possibly win the war.
Yeah, but it's just I love he sucks up to him with
The
that.
meat was supposed to be for General Montgomery, and now you guys are gonna eat it.
Don't tell him; he'll be mad at me. Please don't tell him I told you.
Okay. Dragon, I've had many bouts of food poisoning. Like, that's kind of a reoccurring thing with me health wise. So they're Nazis, all right? But
come on.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like,
Are you really pulling
the way that they're all like writhing in pain. Like, I don't have sympathy for the Nazis, obviously, but like I'm saying, I've been there in terms of food poisoning. All right.
I'm sorry. Are you telling me that you? I'm sorry, just ridiculous.
I know this is a very bizarre note that I'm saying. I realize that.
No, not just that. It's not the ridiculous of the food poisoning and everything. Just not good. It's they were following orders, and those orders were to eat jam. You're saying they were like these were men following orders to eat jam. You're saying like they were just following orders to eat. Okay, he's pulling the old following orders defense, but for
And I
something
love
so
the
silly.
Major. It's just like the Major is like the worst off of them all, and he's like just clutching Phil, and he's like, "Please
Mine
help! I
tummy.
have a bad tummy ache, tummy
No,
ache."
just oh, that's so. Is that so? Oh, and then he hits him with a frying pan. That's great. Well, that's a cool way to take out a Nazi. Him with a frying pan. We didn't see Andy do that, but then again, we did see Marion do that.
Right, right.
She did. She took out a guy with a frying pan. Maybe that's where they got it from. I don't know. I think it wasn't a Nazi though. It was just he took out a knife wielding guy. Anyway. Okay. So, but but what Phil's being interrupted with by the Major there is that he's calling and basically he's kind of saving the day here, saying that guys, there's a 6 mile wide hole in the enemy lines. You could walk to Berlin through here. Just come quick, because the idea is he's gonna have no trouble tying these guys to trees while they're all in pain and food poisons. Like that's the thing they built. I love we built up the Chambo. It's not just like average food poisons. Like where it'd be a hard buy, but no, he said this is like the worst food poisoning you've. This is really bad Cham.
Oh, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine.
This is probably, if I were to guess, I would guess this is the Cham. Well, I mean, I don't want to get into semantics. Let's just say it feels like it'd probably be decades old, despite the fact that it'd be impossible. Let's just say it's spoiled and old and icky.
Right, right.
For simplicity's sake, I don't want to get into semantics of Cham.
Of
Anyway.
course.
So basically, he's defeated the Germans. America defeated the Germans thanks to Phil.
And and also General Patton and some Canadians.
Still love that Canadian just and then of course I love this team. This is a smart joke thing. And as in my younger years, I did not pick up on this, but I love now. I get it. It's so hilarious. It's just the Mercedes guy. So basically, we have a very an over the top German. Basically, almost like they're going to Oktoberfest. I mean, they're decked out in the October Lederhosen and basically all the earmarks of Germany. We defeated those Germans, and then they drive by. Stupid Mercedes, completely unaware of the irony. Just Phil.
Right.
Okay, let's see. So then Gerald's asking Martin, what his story is. Have you ever shot anyone? He says, "Well, yes, Gerald. In fact, I have." Martin's Martin's got a really good story here. Martin, I love how this is shown too. I love how it's just Martin has where Phil is, of course, it's romanticized emphatically. So it's so romanticized. In this case, it's very honest, very generous, very straightforward. Where he was getting towards the end of the war. It was around 72. I was saying tracking the timeline 72. It's 72. Toward the end of the war, there's a lot of draft dodgers and objectors around the Vietnam War. Martin, he wasn't. I love we're hitting all the right notes at War Tea. I love it. It's like an adult. It's an adult message to get across in a cartoon initially directed towards children. I love that we're hitting that message very earnestly. We're not glorifying war. We're just saying that and of course it's Vietnam. But rarely of all the wars is Vietnam mentioned on in animation. I mean, again, the only time we've ever referenced Vietnam, to my recollection, would be the Christmas episode. Honestly, I can't really think of any other animated shows that have done Vietnam. Straightforward.
Yeah, Vietnam. It's a popular war for movies to cover, but definitely it's a very dicey war for animated shows to cover.
Yeah. So basically, we kind of hit right on the head with Vietnam thing. Of course, it's a very dicey conflict, and basically, Martin was mulling it over. He wasn't sure, why we were at Vietnam, and he was scared like the rest of me. I love we show it on the TV, like all the the bad news that's going on there. It was a memorable image from Vietnam, like photos from Vietnam. I mean, look at like what we pulled from watching it. Like you have like those horrific things happening in the streets on black and white.
Right.
And we pulled not as violently, of course, but we kind of homage to that. And in the end, he answered, and I love this thing. This is like the thing I know Steve Rogers would get a kick out of. So this line right here is like the most Steve Rogers approved line of the episode. Basically, in the end, he answered the country's call, right or wrong, whether it was right or wrong.
Of course.
That's such like a Cap yeah moment, like Cap yeah. Okay, so man. It's 2 weeks. Thanks to the rest of it.
Well, I love how like stomach problems continue to plague our characters because he missed most of basic training because of the flu.
Yep.
Like I love how illness is kind of like a reoccurring theme with both these stories. All right, so So the guy he shot his colonel in basic training.
Oh, by the way, there's a fun cameo. I hope you picked up on it. We had Lieutenant Major Goose who was the substitute. Well, it wasn't a substitute. In the Mr. Simmons episode, Mr. Simmons was first introduced when he was, the kids freaked him out, and he quit initially. They had the replacement there who was like this over the top kind of Lou Gossett-esque, heavy, basically a cross between Full Metal Jacket and Lou Gossett Jr. Lieutenant Major Goose, and we get to see that we brought him back after all these episodes.
No, Dragon, it's been so long since I've seen that particular episode, I wouldn't have caught that. But that is a great Easter egg, though.
It's kind of cool because we know he was a military man. It's kind of cool to see where he was. He was the commanding officer.
Now listen, Johansson, this isn't the first time I've been shot in the butt, but last time it was at the hands of the enemy.
And Tiki, I was really fascinated about this on the rewatch here. I was like, man, it's a good subtle thing we have here. That I love that he's still his service is still valued. That despite the fact he shot his colonel in the quote Forrest Gump in the buttocks. He shot him in the buttocks, and of course that has to be a bit of a Forrest Gump homage. I'm just saying that direct wound right there. I'm saying very similar to a moment from that movie. But service is still valued despite the script. Like, Joe, I love that he just asked Johansson, like, fire him or like give him a discharge or anything. He says, Johansson, if you're not proficient weapons, what are you good at? I just love that he still gives him a job that he is suited for. I love that, man. Yeah. It's great. You rarely see it. Again, conventionally, be like he'd just yell at him, he'd chew him out, but no, he's just saying, let's use. That's so great. That's good writing right there. So, what's the new job?
It's basically office work.
File clerk.
Yeah.
And Gerald's a little disillusioned in this moment here. He's finding out you're a file clerk. He says, did you see any action? Oh, yeah, I saw gobs of it. Well, essentially, he saw gobs of action with all the paperwork that came through. And
227 files dropped on my desk. Sorry.
And I love this, Tiki, on the rewatch, too. I completely forgot about this, that how this moment is played where if you pay attention, Martin tells the full story. We see later here, but we focus on Gerald. We see Gerald very disillusioned and disinterested, as seeing his reflection again. Like again, he's just listening, but like, yeah. But he's a little let down by him in that moment. We show that visually as we can. If you track, you can hear every bit of the story we're about to hear. Like he came across.
Sure.
Man, I love that.
Yeah, no, you're right. That is a great touch that we do get the story, but we're kind of like focused out of the story as Gerald would be.
Yes, it's putting us in Gerald's shoes.
Yeah.
And again, especially if you're targeting it toward kids, again, you're communicating a message to that as well, where it's like, hey, you might feel this way in the moment, but you're going to go through Gerald's arc as well.
Uh-huh.
Of course, now we're at the Pilgrim Motel, which of course feels a little bit like kind of the nautical motel from Goofy movie. We're not going to get on a tangent there, as believe me we could. But then we have and there's we're getting kind of the Goofy movie vibe in this scene, for me at least. Phil and Martin, they're kind of at the vending machine. A little realistic detail of the vending machine. Basically getting food for everyone. Getting the sodas, getting the snacks. Of course, Phil battling the machine a little bit, basically saying, "Oh yeah, it was a rousing success. Yeah, this trip's been going really well. Yeah."
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So then,
this is a great moment where Martin, he's about to take the snacks in, and then he overhears Gerald talking about him being disappointed.
This is a heartbreaking scene.
It is.
And then the scene really kind of gets me in the heartstrings. Like, oh man, this is a beautifully kind of tragic scene right here, where Martin, basically here's Gerald's kind of disappointment in him, and I think that the most sad cutting line, the fact that I love Martin's not mad at him or anything, just Martin feels down in the dumps. That basically he wants to instill Gerald the idea of doing your best instead of seeking action, being a war here. It's just about doing your best, doing what the country asks of you. And in Gerald's case, your grandpa did all that stuff, but at the end, my dad he's just a file clerk.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cutting line. Just I feel so bad when Martin has to walk off after that.
I thought the cutting line was, like he might as well have not even been there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. There are a lot of cutting lines.
Oh yeah, you're
right. Yeah, that's. It's a tragic scene. Again, my heart goes out for Martin. These are scenes.
I like how Arnold's trying to defend him too. Like your dad's still a really good guy.
Yeah, and again, Antigua, this is where the great kind of cross kind of mentorship comes into play so well here. That Arnold gravitated towards Martin's story. Again, it's very, it makes all the sense in the world. That again, think about this, Tiki, in the grand scheme as well, is that Gerald and Phil have a lot in common. That they tell stories that
Yes, yes, you're right. Because I mean, of course, we track that with the with the top 10 dragon. Is that like the two main storytellers on this show are Phil and Gerald.
yes, Phil embellishes more, but Gerald can only tell what he's heard embellished already. So again, like,
Exactly.
there's definitely a correlation there. Like they're both like Gerald's the custodian of the urban legends, where Phil's kind of the source of the urban legends.
Well, he's not the source of the urban.
Well, you know what I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I know he's not the source of the actual urban legends. I'm just saying he's like the urban legends. He's the one telling the stories.
Sure, sure.
He's the source of these stories that in another.
I'm sorry. I just want to give credit where credit's due to Fuzzy Slippers.
Well, of course, yeah. We never. That'd be great to see in the jungle. I'd be TK. I'd be love if we saw Fuzzy Slippers in the Jungle movie. We never saw Fuzzy Slippers. All we need to see is like just the Fuzzy Slippers in the waist down. That's all we need. That's all we need. Oh boy. Anyway, yes. Hey, let's see. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so the cross cross mentorship here again. Arnold kind of has a lot of stuff in common with Martin here, in that Martin was very straightforward. He told the truth, which is something he wishes his grandfather would do.
Mm.
He didn't make it all up, and I love that we hit upon that. And again, we have their arcs. Like again, Arnold doesn't have as much of an arc as Gerald, but he still has a bit of an arc there. And I love that we address like we're so on point in this episode with our character dynamics.
Sure, sure.
All right, so then we do some sightseeing the next morning.
Yeah, just some general sightseeing stuff.
The Washington Monument. I believe we have the Iwo Jima Memorial. We have the Arlington Cemetery, I think, and of course we have the parade. And lastly, well, we'll hit the last one, of course, when we get to the other scene. But anyway, we're going around, and while they're kind of going for monuments, kind of going around checking out stuff. Fun day's been had. This is nice. Take us through this moment, Tiki, with Phil.
Yeah, so as you see in the image, folks, Phil and Arnold are kind of looking around for an obscure monument, and they find it, and it is, in fact, a monument to Steely Phil. And I love how he's got the jam can in his hand.
Yeah, I say it's a great statue. It's a great bronze.
It really is. It really is.
It's a shame it's not maintained better. Look at the cobwebs and everything. No one's maintaining this.
Well, I mean, I think the point is that it's like, it's a little.
It's the forgotten battle of history. I got you. Yes, and it's it's the forgotten war story. And you're right.
Yeah. So yeah, good stuff. Good ending to Arnold's arc there, kind of realizing that it actually was true.
Yeah, Grandpa it's fun, but at the same time, you can be straight with him every now and again. Which is nice. Then we have the big Vietnam memorial scene.
Yes, and this ending, Dragon, this is like, let's just say this ending is the reason we're talking about this episode to begin with.
Oh yeah, and I tell you again, the folks out of the holiday. Well, I'm jumping to final thoughts. I don't mean to do that. Let's just go through the episode. I shouldn't expose my hand like that.
Go ahead.
Okay, let's see. So we have Martin and Gerald have a really nice scene together. Basically they're confronting he confronts Gerald with again what the lesson he's been trying to impart, and he kind of, in a way, I love that he doesn't need to apologize. I love that he kind of says, "Look, I know you expected this from me, Gerald, but it's a soft apology without direct. No one has done anything wrong, and he's not not grilling like I heard what you said last night. None of that. It's just basically, I'm sorry you're a little disappointed, Gerald." And I love this. I love that Gerald, and again, Tiki, the myriad of emotion, of subtle, true emotion is really great in this. Where basically Gerald genuinely says, he's heeding Arnold's advice, and again, classically, Arnold gives great advice, which of course, Arnold is kind of what helps Gerald kind of get to the point where he can receive this message, which I think is nice. Where Gerald says, "No, it's all right. You did your best, and." You did your best, but then at the same time, he looks away a little bit when he says, "You don't need to be a hero. Basically, you don't need to be a war hero."
Mm-hmm.
When he says that, again, I think he means the other two parts. And that's what Arnold kind of got him to right there. Like, it's fine. You did your best while you're over there. But that little lingering is like he's saying that to make his father feel better, but he doesn't really believe that. And I love the next moment makes him then believe that. That's what I think is so great about kind of the subtlety in that scene, Tiki.
Oh yeah.
So, Private Miller.
Yes, so Private Miller. I like how we get the name drop, like you said, in that scene where Gerald's kind of not focused on the story. We do hear Private Miller.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he comes up, he's like, "Are you Private Johansson?" And it's great, because he's been waiting 20 years to thank him. Without him, he could have, without Martin, he would have bled to death.
Exactly. And by the way, fun fact: the only episode in Hey Arnold ever had blood in it.
I believe it.
You get some blood in the water there when he's in the mud when he's wounded. So that's a little fun fact. And of course, I love just because based on the way from Martin's perspective, and there's like one detail we didn't have, which I think kind of adds like a nice layer to the previous story, which I'll get to in a minute. But what's neat is that Martin just kind of says, it's just again not looking at it heroically, and I love that's kind of why it's not connecting to Gerald the way it does here, because again, Martin's just like, I ran into someone after I kind of disillusioned him for a moment. It's like, the closest thing I got to action is kind of went across, kind of came across a wounded man once, as he goes through all the details that we hear in the story. We get to see it from the other guy's perspective, where I thought I was going to die, I thought I was going to bleed out there, because while it was a leg wound, at the same time, he had no one come, he would have been one who would have absolutely bled out. But again, despite not being proficient in weaponry, he was proficient in his rudimentary medical training, which of course was very useful. As Johansson, he came across him, and I love that he used his files, used the symbol of what Gerald is kind of not thrilled by. He used the files to kind of fashion a. Put some disinfectant on you, basically use it to patch the guy up, to hold him over, and of course. He awakens in a hospital, and basically and this is the level that I love, kind of takes away from the previous stories, that it was never put in a report because everyone thought he was talking crazy as he just came out of it. It was in Private Johansson, Private Martin Johansson. No one followed up on. That's why it was never kind of like a big war hero. So that's why he was never received a commendation for it.
Right.
Which I love, because you'll notice Private Miller, he has a Purple Heart. So you imagine that had it been on record, Martin would have gotten some sort of recognition for it. It's kind of a fun fact. And then with this beautiful moment where, as you see in the image before you folks, he's waited 20 years to thank him. And his love just kind of by chance that he's been able to meet him there. And so you want to take us to kind of the big family reveal here?
Oh, I don't have much. I don't even have their names written down, but yes, you see the family.
Neither do I. I was just going to say, basically, you have this bit where it's revealed now. I've been waiting 20 years to thank this man, and he says, "Is this your son?" Yeah, and he shakes Gerald's hand. And he says, "Your father, basically, your father's a real hero," and introduces his wife and kids. And Gerald is filled with pride. And then we have that beautiful moment where they all salute to Martin again, the right-handed salute to us. Salute, respect. And the reason that I kind of learned the whole left-right salute is that Phil kind of gives a few left salutes, and the idea is so discombobulated and so unintentionally offensive to people. He just been salute with the left hand. Kind of getting there. So we have this beautiful image of him, of all the family, of the two families together. Of course, the fireworks, and between the flag and the monument with the real heroes in between. That's a beautiful little ending.
All right, so sorry, Dragon, kind of left you hanging there at the end. I didn't really know what to say. In terms of the final thoughts, folks, I really do love this episode a lot. Honestly, Dragon, rewatching, I probably should have saved some room for it in my top 10. Just because I really do.
Don't forget, it was off the table because of the holiday thing. That's why.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, fair enough.
But no worries.
But no, I mean, I just think this episode is just it's special just because it shines awareness on a holiday that never really gets any love. Like everyone always says, this is it's like the 3-day weekend holiday. You know what I mean? So it's like the fact that this episode exists that not only kind of shines a light on the holiday itself, but also is just such a touching, heartwarming story of veterans and courage and the different types of war stories that you hear. It's just a very, very good very, very good kind of examination of just of Veterans Day and of war culture in general. And it's just a great feel good ending. Like you said, it kind of has those road trip vibes to it, a la Goofy movie. So yeah, like it a lot.
Yeah. I love that. Actually, it's such a rarity to actually kind of highlight the value of Veterans Day in animation, no less. And it's a really great tribute to that. Again, it's consistent with all the great holiday episodes we've gotten of Hey Arnold. Again, the only week sauce Hey Arnold episode around the holidays we've gotten was Valentine's Day. But aside from that, all of them have been really solid, really diverse, really different. And Veterans Day was always like one of my favorites, of course, short of the very obvious ones being Christmas being the top tier, and maybe Halloween being right under that. And again, it's hard to find where this one would fit in because again, they're all very good. So it's another great. It's not surprising. It's another great holiday example with this episode. It's always kind of stuck around there because I'm with you, T. As you mentioned earlier, I kind of reminded me of it. Oh yeah, I remember when it would just kind of air around Veterans Day. It was just kind of a good, like, kind of good timing on that. Just good kind of
Uh,
experience. It's a fun character study and backstory in this episode because it gives us some backstory on both these characters, on Phil and on Martin. But at the same time, it's kind of a character study, less of Phil, more of Martin. But also we have elements of Phil. We get to see kind of some connecting tissue. Again, there's some good subtle storytelling devices all throughout the episode. I'm really appreciative on a rewatch. And I love that these stories are seen through the younger generation, which is kind of like the younger audience as well as kind of us, the audience, which is kind of nice. I love that it's still with the humor. It is fun, but not demeaning or by the numbers. And I really respect it for that. And in the end, I think it has this appreciated it has an appreciated sincerity to it all. I think that goes a long way. It's very respectful. It represents the simple message that veterans say it's about giving the salute. It's about basically showing that the sacrifices, the great bravery of men is should not go unappreciated. It's not just an extra day. It basically you take the extra day, at least dedicate a good you dedicate a meaningful, even if it's just a minute, you dedicate a meaningful minute of thought to those brave, to the brave souls that may not be around with us or that were around with us with veterans. Even if it's just a minute filled with pride, but take the whole day, folks. Veterans Day, it's very important.
all right. All right, folks. Well, thank you very much for taking the time with us to celebrate this episode. And we will be back very, very soon to do a running commentary track for the Hey Arnold movie, not the Jungle movie. The troubled production history that is Arnold Saves the Neighborhood, aka Hey Arnold the movie. So, that should be fun, Dragon. That should be fun. All right, folks. But until then, like I said, we salute all the good folks who have served the country in the past, present, and future. Thank you so much for your service. And yeah, that's about it. See you guys later.